Going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here. As the international break is drawn to a close, the Premier League is coming back. But let's just have a quick look about how our players got on international duty. This is a bit of a roundup for you guys. We'll start off with England. Obviously, in the first game against Bulgaria, Harry Kane up to his usual business, getting a hat-trick.
He got a hat-trick in the first game against Bulgaria. Rose got 90 minutes. And he obviously got a goal against Kosovo in the second game.
And missed a penalty.
After all the talk of him, is he the best penalty taker in the world? Is he the best penalty taker ever to play in the history of football? All this talk. Obviously, he was always going to miss a penalty on international duty.
They just put the bock on him, didn't they? Did some juju on him. But look, at least he gets out of his system for England and not for Tottenham. That's what I'm saying.
But 25 goals in 40 international appearances. He's going to absolutely smash it. He's going to smash it. He's going to become England's top goal scorer by a long, long way. Do you reckon he could get 100 international goals?
I don't see why not. He's young still, man. He's 26?
Yeah. So he's got a couple more tournaments at least, more qualifying.
Time on his hands, and the qualifiers is where you're going to get your goals. You're playing the average teams in the qualifiers, and yeah, he's got a long time to go.
Also good to see Danny Rose play.
Yeah, I thought Danny was quite good. I thought he played well. Shame he didn't play in the second game, but I thought first game, he was getting up and down, standard Danny Rose energy. Let's hope he can transform that into Tottenham form.
All right.
Moving on to Wales, Ben Davies played 5 minutes in a 2-1 win over Azerbaijan, and then he played 90 minutes in a 1-0 win over Belarus.
Which is good considering he hasn't played at all for Tottenham. He definitely hasn't played this season. At the end of last season, he played not much as well. So it's good for him to get some game time. And I think, with Spurs having a period of 21 games in the next 7 games in the next 21 days. Yeah. That makes more sense. I think he is going to be vital to come in for people like Danny Rose and rotating with Sessegnon. Even maybe a centre-back.
We all know how Poch loves to swap his full-backs at times. So, yeah, he's going to prove vital. I think, look, Ben Davies always gets minutes for us, doesn't he?
Yeah, but we haven't seen him for a while, so it's good for him to get some game time and good for him to get a clean sheet under his belt as well.
Yeah. And moving on to Belgium, they beat San Marino 4-0. Jan and Toby keeping a clean sheet, playing 90 minutes each. And then they played Scotland in Hampden Park and won 4-0. And Toby getting a goal and Jan playing 90 minutes as well.
Yeah, De Bruyne got 3 assists and a goal in that game. Absolutely killing it. But the interesting thing about that game was Toby Alderweireld scored his first goal for 101 games.
That's mad.
And he scored against David Marshall again for Scotland. And the last time he scored was against Hull when we beat them 7-1, and in goal was David Marshall. So apparently when we come up against David Marshall, we know Toby's going to score. I don't know who he's playing for anymore.
Let's hope he's playing for some Premier League side.
Yeah, there you go. Interesting.
Moving on to Denmark, they beat Gibraltar 6-0, Eriksen scoring 2 penalties in that game. And then they drew with Georgia 0-0 with Eriksen playing 90 minutes of both games.
So Eriksen from a set piece beat the first man twice. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm telling you, yeah. But this time from the penalty spot and not from the corner spot.
And also I remember in that game, especially I think the first goal, I think it was that Denmark scored, he whipped in a lovely ball for the header. It was a great assist.
I can't lie, I didn't see many highlights from that game.
Yeah, well, when Eriksen's involved, I like to see what he's getting up to. He definitely got an assist for that first goal. And the 2 penalty goals were pretty good. He's actually been, whenever he takes a penalty for us, he doesn't do it often, but he's actually been pretty poor whenever I've seen him take a penalty.
When was his last penalty?
I know he took one in the pre-season, didn't he? That was awful. I think he's taken one in other shootouts.
Did he take in the Chelsea shootout this year in the Carabao?
I think he might have.
I think he scored, didn't he?
I think he did score. Yeah. I think you're right. But look, good for him to get that under his belt, and he comes back to Spurs fully focused on getting Spurs back in the running, up and running.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to France, the first game they beat Albania 4-1 with Hugo Lloris playing 90 minutes, and in the second game they beat Andorra. It was actually 3-0, and Sissoko played 90 minutes, his first game back for a while for France, I think. And Lloris obviously keeping a clean sheet in that game too.
I think it's probably gone full circle now with his France recall, him getting back in the team and him starting. Deschamps has always actually liked Sissoko because you got to remember back in Euro 2016 he had a massive role to play and he was Deschamps was the manager under France then, and he only really missed out on winning the World Cup because he was just not really playing for Spurs, so they couldn't really have an excuse to call him up. But now he's back playing for Spurs and playing well. I reckon he'll be called up for France regularly. And considering all the talent they got in centre mid, Pogba, Kante, you can list off the names. For him to be getting 90 minutes,
as well.
and Ndombele as well, yeah. For him to be getting 90 minutes shows how much Deschamps values him as a centre mid.
Albeit against
Andorra, they probably did rest a few players, but let's not mention that. There you go.
All right, moving on to Argentina. They played Chile in the first game, which was a 0-0, and Lo Celso goes off after 53 minutes injured.
Yeah, it's a tough one to take. And you hear Pochettino in the press conference today talking about Lo Celso and talking about what a sad situation it is, him being in this position.
So
that he's
frustrating.
And he's saying, he already even mentioned this. He mentioned how Lo Celso was always going to take time to bed in. He was always going to take time to get used to how the training goes and get used to the Premier League. And this injury is really going to set him back a bit, because we're going to have to wait for him to get through his injury, get fully fit, and then he's going to have to have that bedding in time after that. So I'm really not expecting to. We're probably not going to see the best of Lo Celso probably till 2020. I would assume, maybe January.
Yeah, well, he's going to come back like late October. Probably won't see him in the first team till November time. And it's such a shame, because we've got such a busy period coming up with the Champions League, the Carabao Cup. He would have seen so many minutes.
Which is typical Tottenham break. Sign a player for 55 million, then barely plays and gets injured for 2 months.
And not only did he barely play, but he looked good every time he came on.
He did have exactly.
Touches. But anyway,
so we're just counting our lucky stars that Eriksen said, because imagine Eriksen had gone and then Lo Celso gets injured, the uproar there would have been. We've just got to be thankful for that at least.
All right, moving on to Colombia. In their first game, they drew 2-2 with Brazil, with Davies and Sanchez playing 90 minutes in that game. I don't know if you saw on the internet with that little clip of him barging Neymar off the ball.
I did.
I wish he would have done that to bloody Joe Linton when we played Newcastle.
Yeah, true. There was actually a bit of a debate going on about that clip, whether it was whether we should be happy about him bullying Neymar, or we should be disappointed, because it actually looked like a rash challenge and it could have been a penalty.
Yeah, it probably was a rash challenge, but we don't see him bullying anyone when he's in a Spurs shirt. You know what I mean? He's getting pushed off the ball way too easily. But look, it's good to see him doing that to a world superstar, especially Neymar. You know,
the diving bastard. Yeah. It was nice. It was a funny little clip, but I think it was actually those kind of moments which people were actually annoyed by Sanchez a bit, because sometimes he can be a bit rash and do stupid things, and another referee on another day could have given a penalty for that.
You'd think maybe on the international stage they would have given that as well, because they're a bit more stricter sometimes.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on, they played Valencia in the second game, and he went off after the 53rd minute injured.
Venezuela,
sorry.
Yeah, he went off injured, which he actually, that's what Pochettino said in the press conference. They announced that he's a doubt for the weekend because he's got an irritation in his ankle, which is a shame. And again, another injury for Spurs. We're not coming out of his international duty clean, are we? Which is a bit of a disappointment. But it could force us to play Jan and Toby at the back.
Exactly.
It's not at the end of the world.
Blessing in disguise, I say.
And maybe it could force Aurier right back if Kyle Walker-Peters a bit as well. So it could be a blessing in disguise. No more Sanchez at right back.
I think Sanchez needed a bit of time on the bench anyway. So I'm not happy that he's injured, but I'm happy he's not going to be starting on the weekend. Moving on to South Korea. In the first game, they had a friendly against Georgia, which they drew 2-2. Son came off after 60 minutes and didn't score or assist. And in their second game against Turkmenistan, they won 2-0. In the second... No, that's Kazakhstan. In the second round of the World Cup qualifying, and Son played 90 minutes but didn't score.
Yeah, well, we all know he's always going to get game time with South Korea, don't we? We need him to be fit and firing coming back from this international break. Look, he's done enough for South Korea, man. Can't you just allow him from all other internationals? He should be he should be allowed off all other internationals for what he's
play
done.
World Cup, only play competition.
Exactly. What's he been qualifying for, Sonny? He's done it all. He's won the Cup. He doesn't have to do military service for them anymore. He's done enough for South Korea now. It's enough now.
Right, moving on to Ivory Coast. This is an interesting one, actually. A player that hasn't seen any minutes for us this season. First game against Benin, they lost 2-1 in a friendly, and Aurier played 90 minutes. And in the second game against Tunisia, they won 2-1. Aurier played 90 minutes and got an assist.
Yeah, it was good for him to get some game time because, again, a player we haven't seen at all this season who he's been on the bench, but clearly Pochettino didn't fancy him. But very interesting quotes from him today. Did you see those quotes from Aurier? saying how he was asked about the competition at right back and whether he's worried about having a lot of minutes on the bench. And he replied saying, "Competition? What competition? There is no competition." He said, he said, "This summer I nearly left because I wanted to leave, but at the end I didn't leave." And he said, the fact that he didn't leave shows how much Tottenham trusts him. That's what he said. It was very weird quotes and a bit arrogant, I kind of feel. It's very, very strange. Look, quite honestly, I don't mind it because it means he still has belief that he's going to make it this season. He's going to have a good season. He's going to be number one right back. And we need that belief from him because if he's going to realise that potential. But it could be bordering into arrogance, which could stop him from Pochettino from trusting him.
I'm not sure. You know what? I think you always want your players to have a bit of arrogance, and also with players like that don't speak the language fully.
It's probably a bit of misconstrued. Yeah, probably.
I think he's saying that he's happy that he's still at Tottenham, and Tottenham have shown faith in him, and he is probably the most experienced right back in the squad, and I think that's fair enough.
I just hope he wasn't being disrespectful to Carl Walker-Peters, who albeit had a decent start to the season. So he's by no means Aurier, definitely going to be playing, is he?
Yeah.
So.
All right, and last but not least, Ireland under-21s. Their first win was against Armenia, 1-0. Troy Parrott played 82 minutes and scored the one and only goal of that game. And in the second game, they won 3-1 against Sweden, and Troy Parrott scoring 2 goals. So that's 3 goals in 2 games in his debut. First two games.
First two games for Ireland under 21s. Remember, this guy is 17 years old. He's playing in an age group of players up to 4 years older than him.
And goals as well.
Absolutely brilliant for them, making it look easy as well. Especially the 2 goals against Sweden. 2 really good finishes. One really powerful finish and one delicate chip over the keeper. This guy, there's a lot of noise being about him after the pre-season he had, and obviously last season he was pretty good for the reserve side, I believe, the youth side. So there's a lot of noise whether he's going to be in the first team this season.
From Pochettino as well.
Well, you say that Pochettino was asked about him today, and he said that Troy Parrott is mostly this season's going to be involved in the under 23 side.
Oh, really?
And he said that, and he said
what was this fast track stuff that he was talking about?
He said, I think he was talking about not fast tracking him.
Right.
He was talking about how he's going to be mostly with the under 23 side this season, and he will sometimes be in the first team. And he said it's very important not to put too much pressure on him and force things too early, because that can have a detrimental effect to the player, to give too much pressure when he's so young. And, you can't expect players to perform at this level. And he said as well that there's a lot of players ahead of him in the pecking order from a first team point of view. So he's still got a lot more to make.
Apart from Son and Kane, who's up ahead of him up front? Lucas, maybe?
I'm just saying what Pochettino said.
I'm just trying to break it down what he said.
I guess so. I guess that's what maybe he's thinking. He'll rather use other options so far than put Troy Parrott up front.
I think we'll see him at Colchester in a couple of weeks.
I hope so. I hope you're right, because I think the way he's playing would be very interesting to see how he would perform in the first team, considering as well in pre-season he was playing against world-class players. And I know it is only pre-season, but he didn't look out of place. Not only did he not look out of place, he was doing valuable contributions. He was hitting the post. He was, getting involved. So I'd love to see Troy Parrott get involved. I'm very excited to see how he develops in the future. All the Ireland coaches were talking about him over the weekend, how excited they are with him. And Mick McCarthy was saying this guy is going to be a real star. And it's really exciting to have Troy Parrott as another youth player coming through the academy. Considering we had Harry Kane before him, who was a striker. So can't wait to see Troy Parrott get more involved.
100%. It's really exciting on the Troy Parrott front. I was raving about him after seeing him in the summer, and I would love to just see him thrown in the deep end, but at the end of the day I trust Poch. He's a master in kind of nurturing this kind of talent. So, and
you have seen players like Rashford come in at a very early age at 17 scoring goals in the Premier League. So I know they United were kind of forced into that situation at the time, but
you can see it happens. 2 ways sometimes. Sometimes a player like Makeda can come along, he scores 2 goals and then vanishes.
It might be the case where it might take a bad injury to Kane for the position to fall in his lap.
Well, Kane does always have a big injury every year, so I'm sure we'll see him at some point. Right. Anyway, we've got Crystal Palace at home this weekend. Check out for all the content revolving that. We've got a collab coming on with Back of the Nest, another YouTube channel from the Crystal Palace fan base. Check out for the predicted lineup that will be going out tomorrow. Like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you think of our international players' runouts, and as always, come on, you Spurs!